Welcome, everyone. We'll be waiting 2 to 3 minutes to get started as a courtesy to those who are still in the middle of connecting. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us and thanks for being part of our community. We have a great topic to cover today, but first, a few reminders. Feel free to ask questions at any time by typing them in the IM window. Be aware that any questions you post will be publicly visible. However, if you prefer, you can post your question anonymously by checking the box right below where you enter it. We often get many questions on these webinars, and we will do our best to respond to all of them in real time, but I want to provide an additional mechanism in case we are unable to get to your questions. If you visit aka.ms/ASC community, you'll be able to ask questions on our Azure Security Center forum. If you're listening to this after the fact as a recording, that's also a great place to ask a question. If you aren't part of our private preview program, I encourage you to look into it. You can find more info by visiting aka.ms/security private preview. We've recently launched a series of short videos, including one on this topic, so please check those out. They're a way to have kind of more bite-sized chunks of information if you don't have the time for a full webinar like this. You can see those videos at aka.ms/security community videos. Please note that this webinar is being recorded and will be shared publicly. We will post the recordings on our community at aka.ms/security webinars. And while you are there, please join our community by visiting aka.ms/security community. If you have none of these other links, that's kind of the one to rule them all. You can get to any of these other links from there. That's the best way to ensure you don't miss any future webinars or major announcements. On our community, you can speak directly to our engineering teams that create our security products. You'll be able to influence our product designs and get early access to changes by doing things like participating in private previews, requesting features, giving feedback, reviewing our product roadmaps, attending in-person events, or joining webinars like this. We believe that the best way to improve our products is by removing any barriers between you and the people that create them. So we hope you'll join us. We have a fascinating topic for you today. We're going to be talking about Secure Score in Azure, specifically the enhanced model. We've got Mary Landau joining us. She is a senior program manager on the Azure Security Center team. who is focused specifically on this area, so she has very deep expertise in this topic. Without further ado, I will turn it over to her. Mary?
Hi everyone, thanks for joining. Thanks Ryan for the introduction. I'm delighted to be here today and to speak to you about one of the main pillars in Azure Security Center, the Secure Score, and explain what is the Secure Score, talk a little bit about the model, and specifically on how you can increase your security by using Secure Score. And of course, we'll have some demos. So let's start. So making sure that your resources are configured in a secured way in the cloud is quite challenging. Why? Because the cloud environment is very dynamic. It allows you to spin up resources from all kinds of types, SQL, containers, VMs, but you need to make sure that they are configured in a secured manner. And quite quickly, you can lose control if you don't have mechanism processes in place to make sure that they are configured in a secured manner. And there is ongoing increasing sophisticated attacks. Attackers are looking for this exposure. They're looking for ways to penetrate to the organization. So you need to have security division, you need to have security expertise, and you need to have security baseline in place to make sure that all these resources are configured in a secured way. And that's a challenge. So making sure that you have a security hygiene environment is very important, because the fact is that 93% of reported incidents could have been avoided with basic cyber hygiene. Making sure that if you would have made sure that you have patched application and configure databases in a right way, these breaches might have been prevented. So it's very important that you make sure that they are configured in a secured way. So number one cause of cloud-based data breach is actually misconfiguration. And what you can see here in the quote is that through 2020, 80% of cloud breaches will be due to customer misconfiguration, mismanaged credential, or insider theft, not cloud provider vulnerabilities. Here, Azure Security Center comes in help. If you look at the threat actors keychain, attack chain, you can see basically that they are looking for exposure. They are looking for vulnerabilities in application. They are looking for exposed credential or compromised user. They are looking for this insecure configuration so they can get access to your resources, whether it's virtual machine or applications. Then they can perform lateral movements, and then they can basically create data loss or data exfiltration and create a lot of damage that can be billions or millions for organizations. So how Azure Security Center can help? Azure Security Center has two main pillars. One is the cloud security posture management that allows you to continuously assess the resources in your organization, making sure that they are configured in the right manner, that you can have visibility to the health of these resources. The second pillar is protect against threat, because even if everything is misconfigured, there's always a chance that someone was able to break into your organization. So you want to be able to detect suspicious attack or abnormal behaviors and get alerts for that, for servers, for storage, for SQL. So these are the main two pillars. One is the security posture, and the other one is the alert detection. And all of that is being done in a cloud speed. Why? Because Azure Security Center is natively integrated. It's available in the portal. As soon as you log in to the Azure Security Center portal, from that point, your resources are automatically being assessed, and you can get an iBird's view of your security posture within minutes. And that's very powerful. That introduction, let's now deep dive and understand how to use Secure Store to strengthen your security posture. Let's start first to understand what is Secure Score. So Secure Score is a measurement of an organization's security posture. The higher the number is, it indicates that you're in a lower risk. So organizations want to know, how secure am I? How do I compare to my peers? How do I compare to other organizations? How can I measure different security of different divisions in my organization? For this, we brought up a measurement, a KPI, and this is the secure score. The secure score basically provides you with a number that you can understand how am I secured, and then you can track it, and then you can report, and you can set goals with that. The concept of secure score is also exists, and it's part of the Microsoft Secure Score. Microsoft Secure Score, or what's called M365, has many pillars like devices and identity, and Azure Secure Score is one of the pillars, is the infrastructure pillar. It's aligned with that model, and it will be available soon also in the Microsoft Secure Score. You will be able to see your infrastructure score in M365 as well. So now that we understand in high level that secure score is a number that represents your risk, your security risk in your organization, now let's deep dive and see how it fits into the entire life cycle of security posture management and how you can do it with Azure Security Center. So every organization needs to have a security policy in place. You need to be able to assess your resources against this security policy. Now, Azure Security Center comes out of the box with a set of policies that are assigned automatically. So even if you don't have security policy in place that you drafted in your organization, then you just have it based on best practices that Microsoft provides. Then you can decide whether you want to fine-tune these policies. Maybe some of them you want to disable, or maybe you want to bring your own custom policies that do not exist in the default policies and that you want to add because they're specific to your environment. Then once you have this policy, you want to understand what is the resource health according to that policy, and identify which are the misconfigured resources, and you want to do it continuously. Then you need to understand what is your security status. And here again, the secure score comes in place because now you understand, okay, I'm starting with a certain percentage. I understand where I need to go, where I am, and how do I need to proceed, and how can I take it further and increase my score from this point. And we also provide you what you need to do in a prioritized manner. What should I do and what should I focus so I can increase that score? Well, you know, you have all this misconfiguration, but now you want to act, you want to mitigate the risk. So you want to remediate the resources that are misconfigured, and you also want to prevent from misconfiguration resources to appear again and again. So Azure Security Center can help you with that as well, because it will provide you set of automation that can help you with that. And here again, if you want to drive your people in your organization to increase secure score, you want to set goals, then you have the secure score that can help you with that, because that's something that you can measure. And at the end, you also want to export data for further analysis or to build your own dashboard. You also want to be able to report to management on progress. So you also have reporting and export capabilities in the process. So this is the cycle, and I will deep dive in each one of these capabilities in the next few slides, focusing on secure score. So let's touch a little bit about the default security policy and how it relates to the secure score. So as I mentioned, Azure Security Center provides you with easy out-of-the-box onboarding. We provide you with built-in set of policies that automatically assign on your subscription. When you open the portal, each subscription that's selected will be assigned with set of policies. The infrastructure that Azure Security Center relies on is Azure Policy with all the capabilities of policies management. So once you have this policy, the resources are assessed in a continuous manner. Each policy is in audit mode, and it checks for specific misconfiguration. And if you feel that some of the policies may not be relevant to your organization, then you can decide whether to disable it. And sometimes you can also customize, for example, customize retention date for an audit policy. So in the image below, you can see that for this specific subscription, you have the Security Center default policies. Now, how does this relate to Secure Score? So basically, all these policies that were assigned automatically represented as security controls in ASC. But what is a security control? So security control describes an activity that needs to be addressed to mitigate a security risk. As you can see in the image here are the list of the controls. Each one of these controls contains which actions, which we call recommendation, you need to do to address a misconfiguration. So for example, if you want to remediate vulnerabilities, you can have vulnerabilities on SQL, you can have vulnerabilities on VMs. So when you look at the remediate vulnerabilities, you can see which action I need to do in order to mitigate that. Let's look more carefully now on the different controls that we have in the system. So these are the list of controls, and each one of them has a max score. The max score reflects the importance to solve the misconfiguration. So let's look, for example, on Enable MFA. To be able to mitigate against breach of account, this is kind of the first defense line. You want to make sure that credentials are secured. You want to make sure that you have multi-factor authentication set in your environment. And that's why it has the highest score. That's the first thing that you want to do. And then you also have secure management ports. You want to make sure that you're protected against internet-based attacks. And same as other, I would not go here one by one, but you can see in each one of these is a set of misconfiguration that you need to do to be able to protect yourself from a certain attack vector. So another example, enable encryption at rest, you want to protect yourself from data exfiltration. So the idea behind this model is that if you would follow all and remediate all this control, meaning you will fix all this underlying misconfiguration, you will reach the max score, which is 60. If you'll sum all the max scores, you'll get to 60. This is a 100% score. It means that you configured your environment per this baseline. So the more you remediate, the higher your score will be, and it means that the infrastructure is more secure. Now, I will have here a few examples, so we can look at a few examples and understand the concept and understand how the score is being calculated. Once you understand that, of course, you can work with the system and trust the system that it provides you with the right prioritization. But let's take now a careful look to understand the model in details. So max score is the max point that you can gain if you complete all the recommendation within a control. And this is set by priority, by the importance. The potential increase means the remaining points available within the control, meaning if I will address all this misconfiguration and I will remediate, how many points I will get, how many percentage I will gain and increase my score. So for example, if I'm now on 30% is my secure score and I fix enable MFA, which is 17%, then now I will be on 47%. Now I'm more secured. Current score is how many points you gained so far. So you can see all the specific information of max score and current score and potential increase. You can see that in the portal. You have it in the tooltip. We highlight for you the potential increase because that's the order, the sequence of that you should follow in order to remediate. Let's take an example of apply system updates. We see here all the underlying recommendation that you need to do in order to mitigate the risk. So for example, for VM, you need to install monitoring agent, which is in this case is already completed, which is good, but that's not enough. You need also to make sure you don't have agent health issues. You need to make sure that system updates are installed, and you need to make sure that your machines are restarted. So for a specific VM, you need to follow each one of the relevant recommendation in this control for the VM. Otherwise, you won't mitigate the risk. If you don't follow all these action of installing the machine and installing the monitoring and installing the system updates, then basically you would not be configured in the right way. That's why all these actions are unified into one bucket, because they have dependencies and they have prerequisites. And only if you will remediate all of this for this specific machine, then you will get the points for that specific machine. So let's go through this example to make it a little bit more clear. So for example, I see that I have a control, remediate vulnerabilities with 9% potential increase. What does that mean and how did we get to this number? So if you look, the max score of this control is 6, meaning that if I will fix everything, every resource, I will get 6 points. But in this case, not all my machines are healthy. I only have 4 healthy machines, meaning that I will only get subset of the points, right? So how many points will I get? So if I have total 6 points, I need to divide it by 78 machines. This is my total machine, 74 plus 4. So each machine can contribute 0.07 to the score. But not all of them, unfortunately, are healthy, only 4. So if I will multiply that by 4, I will get to the 0.31, which is my current score. That's the number of points that I got so far, meaning that I need to complete 5.69 more points in order to get the max point, meaning that I need to, of course, make all the rest of the machine healthy. So if we want to calculate it in percentage, then the 5.69 is around 9%. Why 9%? Because remember, our max point is 60, that's the sum of the controls. So the 5.69 is around 9% from the 60. Our numbers in the portal are rounded for simplicity. So I hope that the explanation of the calculation was clear and that it makes sense to you. You can always visit our documentation site, and we have their similar explanation, and you can always reach out for more information. Now, specifically, before I go to the demo, I want to explain that maybe what I've showed you now wasn't familiar if you're already working with the system. What I showed now is the enhanced new experience of the secured model that's already available today in public preview. So we have the current experience, but you have this nice bar that you can say, try the preview. And that leads you to the model that I've just covered. What's the difference between the model and why we decided to enhance and move to this new model? So until now, we had flat list of recommendation, and each one of them had a secure score. Now we moved in the enhanced experience that I covered to the controls, the bucket, list of recommendations together. The benefits of the new experience, that's now it's easier to attack surface correlation, because now each of the related recommendations which are related to the same attack surface are grouped together. So you can get a better understanding, how is my division secured against internet-based attack? Good, I'm looking at secure management port and I can see. And it doesn't matter now which kind of resources, it can combine different resources, but I can get understanding where are my weak points, where do I need to invest more. And also it's from scoring perspective, from really representing your security, it's more accurate because we don't give you now points on half work. Only if you complete a set of configuration, then that relates to the same attack, then you get the points. And the last thing is that we moved to percentage. So if before we had just an absolute number, now it represented as percentage. So now it's easier for you to track because also the environment changed, new resources are coming up and down, the absolute number would change. And so percentage is easier to track, easier to understand, and easier to compare and report. Okay, so now I will switch to a demo to show you the portal and to show you secure score and to show you some other stuff. Okay, so this is the current portal with the current experience. You see, if you look at Azure Security Center on the overview dashboard, you can see here we have the overall secure score. This is our main metrics because this is the current experience. It is not in percentage. I will move in a second to the new experience. You see here the recommendations, and you can see here also the recommendation by the different workloads. So you can understand again, where do you need to focus? And that's the last pillar of threat protection, which I would not focus in this webinar, which provide you with the security alerts. Now, if I'm going to the secure score or to the recommendation blade, I will see that there is a new secure score experience and I can try the preview. If I will click here, then we will get to this portal, which run side by side. So now I can see that my overall secure score aggregated to the different subscription in my organization is 52%, not that bad, but I still have a lot of configuration to do. I can see here, I can compare between the different subscription and understand where do I need to focus. So let's open, for example, the first subscription and try to understand what do I need to do next. Sorry. Okay. So I click on view recommendation.
Hey, Mary, sorry. Seeing your slides, not the.
You're not seeing my.
No, I think we've got seeing a different screen than what you're sharing.
Okay. Can you see it now?
Yes, we can see it now.
Okay. Sorry, and thanks for letting me know. Okay, so just briefly going through, this is the new experience. I got to the new experience by clicking on the try the preview. It's available on the secure score or on the recommendation blade. Now I switch to the new experience. I can see that the overall secure score is 52%. I can see how well I'm doing in each one of the subscription, and I can select one of the subscription and see the specific recommendations in this subscription. So here in the new view, again, like I showed before, I can see the list of different controls. In this specific environment, I see that 2 controls are already completed. That's very good. I completed the most important one, enable MFA, so I can see each one of the recommendation underlined is completed. That means that I already got all the points. I got 10 points, and therefore my potential score increase is 0 because I have nothing to do in this case. The next thing that I probably should do is I should focus on remediate vulnerabilities and then kind of go one by one and fix. If I take now, for example, for simplicity, the enable endpoint protection, I can see here the different actions that I need to take. Each one of them explains what do I need to do. If I click, for example, on one of the recommendation, then I will get an explanation. In this case, for VM, for example, to make sure that I have enabled endpoint protection, I need to install monitoring agent. I need to install the endpoint protection solution. And again, I need to make sure that for a certain VM, I complete all the relevant recommendation for virtual machine in order to get the points. So I want to show you back going to the security policy. Security policy is the driver basically to get all these security controls and recommendation. So each one of the subscription has been assigned by default by the ASC security policy. I can see it's here. And Azure Security Center also provide with set of industry and regulatory standards. I would not touch that in this webinar, but good to know that we also support that, and you can also add new regulatory compliance if you wish. Specific, what I wanted to show you is that although we come with a set of default built-in policies, you might want to add your own recommendation, your own custom initiatives. So we allow you to do that because we are using Azure Policy as our infrastructure. All that you need to do is basically to create a custom initiative in Azure Policy, put there your recommendation, your policies, and they will appear as recommendation in Azure Security Center. They will fall in the bucket that we have in the product today, which called implement security best practices. They would not get score at this point, but soon we will also provide you to create your own controls and to put there your own custom recommendation and give them a score, so you can have a score which also combined with your own recommendation. Okay, so now let's get back to the presentation. Can you see my presentation?
Yes, we can see it.
Cool, thank you. So we've learned so far what is secure score, how you understand the calculation, and how you need, what do you need to prioritize and act first. So you should use Azure Security Center Secure Score as your main KPI to track your security hygiene. Going back to the introduction, if you don't want to, again, to lose control in this flexible and dynamic environment in the cloud, now you have all this visibility to the security in your organization. Ideally, if everything is configured, you will be on 100%. That's the maximum score. And as you will go, you will increase your score, and then your score goes up. The number of recommendations or controls that you need to handle will drop, and your secure posture is enhanced. But it's very important to understand that there is a route to get to that point, and increasing your score is an ongoing effort. And you need to have a security governance in place. Why? Because you provision new resources, and these new resources, if they will be misconfigured, then your secure score will drop. Because even if you fix what is already misconfigured today, you need to make sure that the upcoming resources will also be configured in a secured manner. So what will happen is basically that you will fix you fix whatever you can, and then once new VMs provision or storage account, for example, provision, what would happen is that your score might drop because they are still misconfigured. That's why it's very important that you will understand the misconfiguration, and then you will insert into your pipeline, into your deployment pipelines, you will make sure that they are being built in a secured manner. Only then you will be able to constantly raise your score. So now I will talk about the different way how to use automation to increase your score. So as I mentioned before, you need to make sure that as people build and deploy new resources, they do it in a secured manner. To do that, you can combine Azure Policy as part of your deployment processes, and you should basically do that whether through Azure Policy or through other mechanism to make sure that when resource is being deployed, it's already deployed in a secured manner. And then you always have monitoring in place to make sure that everything is secure. So you need to take this into CI/CD pipeline. One of the ways that you can do it is using Azure Policy. Azure Policy provides you with two main capabilities, writing policy with a deny or deploy if not exist effect. Basically, when you do deploy if not exist, you prevent misconfiguration, you enforce secure configuration or new or changed resources, And when you create a deny policy, you basically deny creation of misconfigured resources. So how do you do that? We have an ASC community GitHub. I will show you in a second how you reach to that. And there we have samples for many of our recommendations. We have, for some of them, we have deploy policies and deny policies, and you can use them. So once you do that, you will make sure not only to fix the current misconfigured, but also to enforce remediation into your cycle of creating new resources. Another way to achieve that is by running remediation using ARM templates or PowerShell. In many cases in the portal, you can see view remediation logic in the remediation step description. You can click on it and you can see whether it's the ARM template or REST API calls. You can take them basically and embed them into your configuration tools. You can write your own script. Make sure that you do that as part of your development, as part of your deployment. And again, we have example for that in our GitHub. Recently, we also launched workflow automation. We'll show that in a few minutes, which can also trigger remediation. So what's the idea behind workflow automation? That you can trigger an automated action based on recommendation or alert, and you can define a specific condition. So for example, you can define that the trigger would be Security Center recommendation. You can decide which kind of recommendation it will be or the severity you want it to be. And then you can decide what action will be taken once this being triggered. So for example, you can draft your own script and run them through workflow automation once recommendation is fired. So for example, you can recently we introduced the integration with the Qualys vulnerability assessment. Then you can make sure that you install the Qualys extension using Azure Security Center workflow automation. And we are publishing in the community examples for all kind of integration with workflow automation. So visit the community and look at the examples that we have there. So how do you get to workflow automation? If I go back to the portal, and I hope that you will be able to see that. So we have here workflow automation on the menu. Whenever you want to create a new workflow automation, you click on Add Workflow Automation. And here, basically, this is the connector to a logic app that you need to create before. The logic app defines the logic, what would happen once the trigger will trigger. How to create logic app, you can of course read in the documentation. And so you define the trigger condition. It can be either threat detection alert or it can be a Security Center recommendation. So once you want for a specific recommendation to issue a fix, it can be your own script, for example. Then you can choose for which specific recommendation you want it to apply, and you need to connect it to one of the existing logic app that you need to create beforehand. Since I'm already here, I want to show you that here is our community. So once you click here, you can get to, we have community forum, we have community blogs, we have feature requests where you can submit requests for feature. And most important, you can go to the GitHub, and in the GitHub, you can see we have different folders. We have remediation scripts that you can look, and really want to encourage you. You can add your own remediation script. You can leverage what already exists here. That's a very powerful tool, and we would really be happy if you can contribute and you can also benefit from what's already exists here. Okay, going back to the presentation. So far I covered the automation that you can do to take it forward into your deployment, into the deployment processes. Now, out of the box, sorry. Out of the box, we also provide you with capability to run remediation, We have what's called which is called quick fix. For some recommendation, don't know why it's making some issues. In the portal itself, we have quick fix. Some of our recommendations are labeled with
Still there, Miri? It seems like we may have lost audio.
So got disconnected for how long?
We lost you just for about 30 seconds there.
That's good. Okay, did you hear about the quick fix?
We started to, and we can hear you now, but we can't see your screen yet. Could you reshare that?
Sure, I'm sorry.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. So we have a quick fix remediation. So to be able to fix existing resources that are misconfigured, we provide you with a quick fix. So once you click on the quick fix button, you can select resources. You can click on the remediate button, and what will happen that we will issue a remediation. We will issue a template deployment that will fix that resource. So now you can fix in a very simple way in a batch operation as part of the UX. So we already see that most of the recommendations that have quick fix today, customers attend to quickly fix because it's much easier and simple. Can you see the next slide?
Yes, we can.
Cool. So we understand that in many organizations, in order to increase the security score, you need to collaborate with the different application owners in your organization. And the reason for that is because sometimes the security governance team that works with Azure Security Center Azure Security Center portal doesn't have the permissions to perform the remediation. In most cases, they are not the application owners, and they are not familiar with the specific production environment. So creating a remediation might be a risk. So they need to work and they need to collaborate with a different subscription owner, with a different application owner, and to drive them to action. In order to do that, there are some tools that can help with that. And again, we're going back to the workflow automation. Workflow automation allows you to create a ticket, whether through ServiceNow or through Azure DevOps, or you can also create an email template. So this way you can decide, for example, that when a specific recommendation is being triggered, for example, on storage account, then you can make automatically that it will send email to the resource owner, in that case of the storage account. So this is very powerful, and in this way you can drive people to perform action, and also of course to connect it to change management system as well. Okay, and reporting. So one of the things that you want to do is that you want to be able to report. You want to be able to export your recommendation. In order to do that, we have several ways to allow you to do that. And today we're talking about recommendation, but we also have, of course, the concept of secure score. We want you to be able to also export secure score data, so that will be coming soon. Meanwhile, what you can do is you can export recommendations and build your own report. You can do that by using export to Log Analytics workspace. You can do that by exporting to Event Hub, and you even have a download CSV report option in the portal when you can download all the recommendation. Another option is, here is an example. If for example, in this, I can query all the resource with recommendation in the last 24 hours, I can do it in Log Analytics. Then I can connect it to Power BI and build my own dashboard. And you can also, because it's based on Log Analytics, you can also correlate it with additional data that you have there. For example, you can correlate it with alerts on a machine. Another way is to query data is Azure Resource Graph. For ones of you that are not familiar, you can look at the portal and you can just type Azure Resource Graph. There you can see a rich query language. The data of Azure Security Center recommendation is available there. You can query the data. You can query, for example, in this example, you can query all the unhealthy recommendations with unhealthy machines. You can use that through ARG. ARG is connected to Azure Workbook. You can export data to CSV. You can work directly with ARG API. The power of ARG is also because you can query on multi-subscription. This is very nice and very powerful, so I encourage you to try and use it. And Secure Score data will also be in ARG soon, so you can leverage that. So if going back, for example, to the ability also in workflow automation, we would want to support Secure Score data there, so you will be able to create workflow with email to your different divisions and also indicate what is the Secure Score to drive them to action. And last is the assessment API. We have introduced a new assessment, a new API. This API will replace the current task API. The new API provide you provide you the assessment metadata API, provide you with the recommendation metadata, such as the recommendation name, the description, the severity, link to the recommendation. And the assessment API provide you with a detailed assessment, with the result of assessment of each recommendation to each one of the resources. So if you want to use your own automations, your own tools, then you can, of course, use this API. And I would like to encourage you to start using and replacing your current usage of Task API with this new API. And I know that many customers are looking for Secure Score API. So this is something that we are working on, and this would come soon. We also hear a lot about customers that saying that they, of course, want to track security over Secure Score over time. Of course, that's something that we need, and as soon as you will have Secure Score API, you can start and track that, and that's something that will also come soon into the product, the ability to be able to see progress over time. So, I hope that this presentation was useful for you. I want to take the opportunity to suggest you with few actions. Start monitoring your security score across your organization. The Cloud Security Posture Management in Azure Security Center is for free. So just go into the portal, log in, see your secure score, and start monitoring it. Start with acting upon your top 5 security controls. And then we are very open and would like very much for you to share your insight and feedback. If you look in your portal, there are many places where we ask for your feedback. We take your feedback very seriously. We read each one of your feedback individually and we act upon. So keep sending us feedback. And then, of course, we have a community where you can leverage to see their custom policy, you can see remediation script, and we will be very happy if you can also contribute your own, so it's available there in the GitHub. So that's it. We can have some time for Q&A. If there were questions, I'll be happy to answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Miri. So folks, we see we've had many questions all along in the IM window, but if you submit one now is the chance for me to read it out and have Miri explain it verbally, or perhaps even show a quick demo if that's appropriate to the question. So if you had a question that is better answered that way, now is a great time to ask it. One here is, do we have plans to change the secure score calculation fundamentally again, or can people count on this general model being pretty stable?
Yes, you can count that this would be stable with the following caveat. Recommendations will be added. Recommendation might impact your secure score. Of course, there's new resources are being added. There's new security configuration. This is a live system, so you can expect that there will be new recommendations, but we will want to have a model that we will give you some kind of grace period when we introduce new things. But this is like a live system. But that said, this is a model that we introduced and we plan to stick with.
Great, thank you. So I realize that secure score is not designed specifically to comply with a certain regime, but is there a way that it can be used to support compliance with a specific set of requirements?
If the question referring to regulatory compliance, if I understand it correct, then Azure Security Center provides with a set of regulatory compliance. You can see my screen. You can still see my screen, then I can show you with a very quick demo. Can you see?
Yep.
Cool. Then we have a regulatory compliance dashboard. If you are on the standard tier, then the system comes with 4 default security compliance: Azure CIS, PCI, ISO, and SOC TSP. We will soon introduce more and more, and the power of this is, first of all, this can help you a lot in your auditing, in your regulatory compliance auditing process, because you can see here for each one of the controls, you can see the status. If we can assess it automatically, then you can see exactly, and you have a summary of the things that are good and that are failed and passed. And you can also add more regulatory compliance. If we look, for example, here, then you can onboard new regulatory compliance. We have set of standards, and we are keeping adding more and more. So you can click on add more standards, and you can look at the library of standards that are available, and you can add them and monitor them. So that's a strong capability that we have in Azure Security Center.
Great, thank you. Which system logs from Linux VMs are analyzed under Secure Score in order to provide insights?
That's something that I can follow up specifically in a different thread and combine the list of logs.
Okay, great. Do we have any plans to share anonymized info about security scores, say, across a given industry?
I don't know at this point, but I don't know at this point. It's too early to say.
Okay, great. We know Sentinel integration is a common question. Can you speak a little bit to how ASC can integrate with Sentinel and potentially how that affects SecureScore?
So the integration with Sentinel is more about the alert detection. Sentinel is of course Microsoft SIEM product. So we provide integration on the alert detection with Sentinel, less on the recommendation side at this point in time. But of course, what's important to emphasize is that in some ways the of course connection between threat and recommendation and SecureScore. The reason I say that is once you have alert, you need to understand what was the misconfiguration, how the breach happened, and then take it back to your conclusion and make sure that your resources are configured in a secured manner. So that's how it comes back into Azure Security Center. You need to make sure that your resources are configured in a secured manner, and that way you will prevent from the next alert and you will reduce the number of alerts in your system.
Great, thank you. So we're about out of time here, folks. As we close up, I'll share a few links for those of them who didn't catch them at the beginning. If we did not get to your question somehow, or you have one that's easier written out, or you're listening to this as a recording after the fact, you can submit questions on our forum at aka.ms/ASC community. We would love to have you check out our private preview program, which you can do at this link here, aka.ms/security private preview. We've recently launched a series of short videos, including on this topic, and please check those out. It's a good way to get a bite-sized introduction to a topic to see if you really want to dive deeper on, say, a full-length webinar. Recordings of this session and all others are available here at aka.ms/security webinars. And the one link that can get you to all these others and help you join our community is aka.ms/security community. I want to thank all of those on the call who helped answer questions over IM throughout our presentation. I want to, of course, thank Miri for a fascinating deep dive into this topic that will really help a lot of people improve their general security posture. And most of all, I want to thank all of you for attending, and we hope you will join us next time.
Thank you very much.